Yo, what's going on, guys? It's C-Brev. Welcome back to another MLB The Show 20 video. In this one, I'm going to be going through the new 6th inning program that's dropping tomorrow, looking at the boss's attributes, talking about what I think is going to be good and bad, and my opinion on who the best choice is out of that pack. I'm also going to talk about the voucher and if it's worth it this season or in general at all. I know a lot of content creators do this type of video, but I get asked these questions a ton on stream, so I thought it'd be cool for me to do one myself. Hope you guys enjoy it. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe for more MLB The Show 20 content and drop a like on the video. It helps me out a lot. Let's dive into the opportunity cost of the voucher. The question I get asked a lot on stream is the inning program voucher worth it? My general answer to this question is no, and I think for this specific inning program transition from 5th to 6th, the voucher is extra not worth it. For many reasons, the bosses are much more expensive in this program. The opportunity cost of doing the voucher is 300,000 stubs. Basically, obviously you get to keep the cards, but basically you're paying 300,000 stubs for 75 program stars, which is insane. I think you need to be willing to either prestige all 3 bosses or use all 3 bosses for the rest of the year in order to justify doing the voucher for this program. I personally have already prestiged Mariano Rivera. I'm going to prestige Larry Walker, so they're already locked in, and I am still not doing the voucher, even though it would cost me 100K just to pick up this David Ortiz and lock him in. I don't think the voucher is worth 100K, let alone 300K for doing all the bosses. The reason is, it's kind of meta to grind to 300 stars the very first night. It's actually kind of cool, like a cool sub-community that has developed over the last year or so. I don't think SCS realizes how much of a big deal these inning drops are every month. It's something to look forward to every month. The content is just insane. But there's a culture of people, and it's awesome. They literally look forward to program day, and they just decide they don't go to sleep until they get 300 stars. And there's a ton of people doing that. And so since this community has grown, it's become less and less worth it to do the voucher. In fact, on days 2 and 3 of the last inning program, the boss prices actually went up, I believe. So the people who sold the first day actually missed out on stubs just because so many people were grinding to 300 so fast. If your idea is to get to 300 stars first, you're probably not going to do it. So in general, I don't think the voucher is worth it, mostly because I don't think David Ortiz is an in-game first baseman at such a deep position. Love him as a new legend. He's a great card, but I don't think he's in-game, and I'm not going to lock him in for 100,000 stubs. The other 2 bosses, debatably in-game, better in terms of in-game than Ortiz, but yeah, I'm still not going to do the voucher. It's also important to talk about when you're discussing the voucher and grinding super hard the first couple days and trying to sell your boss ASAP, who you're really targeting. The people that really overpay for these boss cards in the first couple days, you're either targeting whales, who are people that have a ton of stubs and they don't know what to do with them, or content creators who are trying to do debuts. Sometimes content creators are whales at the same time. But I think both these target audiences are not going to be pulling the trigger on these cards in the first couple days, and that is because of the impending collection that is coming on the 28th. I think most people are hoarding their stubs because we don't really know what to expect. If they are buying stuff, it's to prepare for that collection. I'm talking in terms of the whales that have a ton of stubs. So people that are consciously willing to overpay for a card that they know is going to depreciate by 200-300% in a week are whales and content creators, and I don't think either of those groups are going to be pulling the trigger on some of the bosses early on, at least not many of them as usual, especially with kind of their more low-key names. I know Rollins and Maddox are new legends, but definitely not as hyped of a program as the 5th inning was. So overall, that's my reasoning. I don't think the voucher is worth it at all. Take your time, you'll get to 300 stars eventually. And yeah, that's my advice. It's just my opinion. You can disagree with it in the comments if you so choose. I'd love to hear your reasoning. But let's get into the exciting stuff. Let's look at the 3 new program bosses, and I'll talk about what I think of each of them. Alright, we're on Twitter. We're going to look at these 3 bosses, starting off with Greg Maddux. This is the one I'm most excited for. 99 Greg Maddux was an insane pitcher in real life, and really fits an archetype that I don't think we're going to see very much of this year. Oral Hershiser and Maddox were the 2 guys I had keyed for this archetype, which is a right-handed sinker cutter finesse pitcher. And we have both of them now. I think they're both going to be really good. This card is easily a top 5 pitcher in the game, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of people that care a lot about velocity. This card doesn't need velocity. They said on stream his sinker and circle change both have max break and control on those pitches. That's just insane. On top of that, he has a cutter and a slow curve, kind of like a Gagne slow curve. And his four seam gets up to 95, so his sinker can drop as low as 88, and his four seam can go as high as 95. I don't think this card's going to have velocity issues. 95 four seam is actually kind of fast for a finesse pitcher, especially when you're going to be seeing a lot of those sinkers from this card. So this card looks insanely good to me. Obviously, I've been talking a long time that I felt like a 99 Greg Maddux when he dropped would be game-breaking, debatably better than Kluber, and I still believe that. We'll see how he plays. But the break on his sinker, the break on his changeup, the fact that he can run a cutter away from righties and into lefties, the slow curve, I mean, this card just looks insane. Also, 105 walks per nine and 97 control ratings are absurdly high. It's very rare that we get any pitchers at all that have walks per nine ratings above 100. And if you do Prestige Maddox, he gets 108 walks per nine, which is maybe the highest walks per nine I've ever seen, especially on a starting pitcher. Guys like Eckersley in the past have had walks per nine about that high, but the control on this card is going to be absolutely ridiculous. You're seriously going to be able to put the ball wherever you want. So staying true to Maddox form as it should be. So don't worry about the velo. 95 is fast enough. You should be throwing sinkers and circle changeups anyway. Your opponent's bat will be slow after a couple innings versus this card anyway, so he looks insane. He's easily a top 5 pitcher in the game for me right now. So let's move on to Stan Musial. This card also looks insane. I'm going to make a bold statement here, and then we'll tab back to MLB actually for a second. This Stan Musial is the best first baseman in the game as it stands right now. If you guys watched my tier list video, you know that I said that Eric Thames is the best first baseman in the game. Upon release of this card, I believe that Stan Musial is better. And actually, Musial and Thames are very close cards in comparison. The reason I'm talking about him in first base is because you definitely don't want to play this guy in the outfield. Trust me. Guys like Prestige Reggie Jackson and Joe Carter, both guys I've used extensively, have around this fielding, 72 fielding, and they have much higher speed, and they still play atrocious defense. So this card's going to be borderline unusable in the outfield, in my opinion. This card should only be evaluated as a first baseman, in my opinion. And also, in my opinion, he's the best first baseman in the game right now. Let's tab back to the show, and I'll show you a comparison with Thames. So here's Thames. I can't really do a side-by-side, unfortunately, the way I'm recording this video, but hopefully I'll get my point across. So let's look at the lefties first. Thames inverse splits, Stan Musial inverse splits, reverse splits, I should say. But Musial gets the 125 contact as opposed to 112 for Thames. And then as far as versus righties, Musial gets the maxed out contact but less power. Basically their ratings are flipped, right? Musial has 125 contact, 98 power. Thames has 96 contact, 115 power. And honestly, for a power hitting first baseman, I'd honestly rather have the contact. The maxed out contact is going to play really well in Hall of Fame legend for me. Yeah, so that's why I think Stan is insane. Also, Stan at a secondary position is going to have 67 fielding at first base, which is better than Thames. So yeah, I think Stan is a better first baseman than Thames and the best first baseman in the game. Also, if you do Prestige Stan, he will get silver fielding at first base instead of bronze. I don't think it's a huge deal at first base, but it will help. But it's kind of mind-blowing how closely the Thames card and the Musial card are when you look at them in terms of first baseman. So obviously I'll evaluate who I think the best boss is and who you should take at the end of this video, but just keep in mind I think Stan's probably the best first baseman right now. Stan also has the same swing that all of the old guys have, or at least this was the way it was last year. All the old timers that come to mind, Honus Wagner, Jimmy Fox, Lou Gehrig, Al Kaline, Stan Musial, they all have the exact same swing. It's a power two-handed follow-through, and it was a really good swing last year. So I imagine if they keep the swings the same, this card's going to rake. He raked for me last year with power in the 90s with maxed out contact. So yeah, actually pretty excited about this card. And finally, we have the weirdest one of the bunch, which is Jimmy Rollins. The reason I say he's the weirdest is because I almost find it necessary to prestige this card. Like, the difference between Prestige Rollins and regular Rollins is insane. So, We know about the 80 power threshold, which he only hits as a prestige version. Also, as a prestige version, his reaction goes up to 90, and his speed goes up to 96, and his stealing goes up to 99. So, base Rollins, I don't think is that exciting of a card. He does still have diamond defense at shortstop. He does still have 93 speed, but the lack of 80 power really bothers me. Myself and a lot of people that I've talked to have seen a noticeable difference from regular Craig Biggio to prestige Craig Biggio. And if you didn't know, regular Craig Biggio has 79 power versus both sides, and then his prestige is 82, obviously. Noticeable difference. I imagine it'll be the same with this card. So I'm going to talk about Rollins in terms of his prestige, because I think that's the optimal way to do Jimmy Rollins. I don't envision myself using regular Rollins except to grind the prestige stats. But yeah, let's talk about prestige Rollins. If you guys didn't know, prestige cards get +3 to every attribute, so just add 3 to whatever you're seeing on screen. Prestige Rollins looks really good. Debatably the best shortstop in the game. Not offensively, though. I think this is so weird because you don't think of Jimmy Rollins this way, but the way his stats are going to look with the 90 reaction and the 96 speed, Rollins is going to be debatably the best defensive shortstop in the game. I personally have noticed that speed and reaction in the middle infield is hyper important, especially on slow chopper plays. So some animations in the infield are lock in, but on like balls that are hit more slowly, speed and reaction really makes a difference. I noticed this when I was using Ozzie Smith at shortstop, who has max fielding, max reaction, and 87 speed. That he was running down balls that I know for a fact other shortstops couldn't get to. So with the 93 fielding, 90 reaction, 96 speed, this card's going to be playing insane defense, also 95 arm strength to make throws from the hole, stuff like that. You need to be looking at Rollins and evaluating him as a defensive option. It's kind of weird because he's a switch hitter. He's probably going to hit leadoff for you guys. But what Rollins really brings to the table that other cards in the game don't bring to the table is going to be insane defense at shortstop. So, and obviously we know hitting the 80 power versus both sides is important. His contact's a little low. I may struggle to hit with this card on Legend. He actually has similar contact to like Didi Gregorius. So if you like Didi, or if you hit well with Didi, it's going to be about the same, I think. Obviously he's a switch hitter, but I really like Prestige Rollins a lot. Like I said, arguably the best shortstop in the game. I really hate regular Rollins. I think it's a big difference. So if you're going to pick Rollins, make sure you're in it for the long haul. Make sure you're going to do that prestige program, and there may be a lot of stats involved, but I really think you need to prestige this card for him to reach his full potential. So let's wrap up the video. Who should I take in the pack for the 6th inning program bosses? This question is always tough because most of the time all 3 bosses are good, and it's often a question of marginal utility. It depends on your team. It depends on what would be the bigger upgrade for you. If you have access to Thames, or if you have Eric Thames, then Stan Musial is pretty much off the table, in my opinion. Just put Thames there instead. They're really close in terms of card attributes. If you don't have Thames, Stan is a much bigger deal because I think he's, like I said, right there with Thames, is the best first baseman in the game. As far as Rollins, like I said, in my opinion, you need to prestige him for him to reach his full potential. I do think Prestige Rollins is going to be an insanely good card. I think he's the 2nd best choice in the pack. I'm going to be buying him. But I understand a lot of people are really have shortstops that they're really attached to. We've got a ton of Ernie Banks fans. We don't know when Honus Wagner's going to drop. Some people like the home run derby Cal Ripken Jr. Some people like the defensive guys like Ozzie Smith. So yeah, Rollins debatably best shortstop in the game when prestiged. I'm gonna use him, but I don't know. Like I said, it depends on what's the best upgrade for you and your team, and that's why I think Maddox is the best choice for the program. Because the thing about picking Stan is you only get one first baseman or bench bat. The thing about picking Rollins, especially with no secondary positions, is you only get one shortstop. With starting pitchers, you get 5 of them. And there's kind of this weird gray area with starting pitchers rotations right now. And I found this out in the tier list, especially making it and reading the comments. Most people in the community unanimously agree that Kluber is top 5. Most people in the community unanimously agree that Oral Hershiser is top 5. And after that, it's a whole lot of anecdotal, subjective mess, if you guys know what I mean. So you got 3 spots in your rotation. That's kind of personal to you. This card kind of breaks that. I think most of the community will be in agreement with me when I say that I think Maddox is unquestionably a top 5 pitcher in the game right now. So you have the opportunity to have Kluber, Hershiser, and Maddox in your rotation, and that removes one of the 3 spots that are kind of in a gray area right now. People are actually really struggling to find back-end starting pitchers that they really trust a lot. I think this is going to be the guy. So long story short, I think Maddox is the best pick out of the program. I think they're all good though. Like I said, all 3 of these cards, when used in the correct position and prestiged, are probably the best cards in their respective positions in the game right now. So I know that maybe wasn't helpful. I'll personally be taking Maddox and buying Rollins. I'll probably try Musial. We'll see. I already have Thames though, so like I said, it all depends on who you have. But yeah, in my opinion, Maddox is the move. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please drop a like I said earlier. It helps me out a ton. Let me know your thoughts about this program in the comments below. Would appreciate it a lot. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.